Folks, I'm sure like myself, most of you use the internet all the time. I suppose especially for a job like this, you're always online or mindful of what's happening online. So what are we to make of the end of so-called net neutrality in the States? Overnight, this was a big decision. American internet service providers can now speed up or slow down different companies' data. They can charge consumers according to services that they access on sites like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Critics warn it'll hand the control of the future of the web to cable and telecoms companies. They say it could mean higher internet prices. So what does it actually mean for us? Of course, we turn to Kevin Curran, who's a professor of cybersecurity at Ulster University. Kevin, good afternoon to you. It's a complicated thing because you just expect the internet to be free. Did they wake up in America today, Kevin, and be asked, what, for 50 cents to get on Facebook?
Well, it's not going to change overnight. And net neutrality is the principle that internet service providers, who we all get our broadband through, should actually treat all content equally, like a website you visit, an email, downloads, that all the bits should be treated equally so that you can't throttle or give favor to one service over another. And that really is the genesis of the net neutrality. And 2 years ago, under the Obama administration, the FCC, who the same people are overturning it, they approved that these would be the rules that would prevent internet service providers from being able to manipulate traffic. So again, that the government wanted to treat it like a utility, which seems to work well in most areas. But
so for us, those ISPs, or the internet service, your BTs, your Skies.
Yeah. So in other words, that whenever we go and get a service like a Netflix, so in other words, BT, under the net neutrality rules, BT would be prevented from throttling Netflix, for instance, if they wanted to provide their own streaming service. But now that rule has disappeared, so internet service providers do not have to obey that. And that's the worry from the people who want to keep the rules in place.
I got you. Right, but it's not BT, but let's pretend it was. What interest would it be of BT if their commercial competitor or owners were the other guys, say Facebook? Why would BT want me to be a customer of theirs and my Facebook suddenly was half speed? It wouldn't be in their interest at all, Kevin.
Well, you got like Comcast, are a major internet service provider in the United States, and they have their own streaming service called NBC Universal. So it would be their interest to slow down Netflix or to charge Netflix a lot more, and then to give higher quality to their streaming service.
So
now that's the worry.
Why wouldn't customers just say, well then, forget about it, I'll go somewhere else and get me Netflix?
That's it, okay. So that's where people will say, look at that the market itself will distinguish between people. In other words, that the ISPs will not do this because of what you said. The problem, the worry is, of course, by some of the people who want to keep the rules in place, is that some regions you don't have any choice. You've only got one provider.
Gotcha. So
that they do believe that a two-tier internet will start up. Also, they believe that if you wanted to start up tomorrow with a really cool Netflix 2 app or whatever else, service, that you really would find it harder now to get that into market. Again, some people worry about that the internet service providers have too much control, that they could really give you a slow lane on the internet.
But why wouldn't you take Kevflix to a competitor of Netflix's carrier and go, listen, they've got Netflix soon up, I'll give you Kevflix?
Yeah, you can do that, but of course, what about the 100,000 people who live in one part of the country who only have one internet service provider? Then I lose them as a customer.
But surely the further this goes, everybody will end up with 4G, 5G, 16G. For
there is. Look, I've been following this for years. I mean, it's just, for years, all my podcasts are taken over by it. And it depends on what side of the bed I get up out of, whether I believe in it or I'm for it or against it. Because I can see both sides of the argument. The main argument for the people who want these rules removed, net neutrality rules, that they don't want the regulation, is that they believe that it's better to have a lighter touch from government, that regulations always lead to crazy, restrictions, and that they'll have more money to invest back into the infrastructure. And then you take the giants like Amazon and Google and all these, that they have changed over time. The majority do support net neutrality, but actually it's in their favor, a lot of this, for instance, because Google, if you take Google, for instance, because they also are an internet service provider with the Google Fiber, it suits them to not have the rules, but as a service for selling ads, it suits them to have it. And it depends on who you speak to. What I will say as well is, I mean, this is one of the only things I can think of where it's so US dominated, but it won't affect us in the UK for a long time, if it does at all, because even with Netflix, which is an American company, when you are streaming a download from Netflix or watching something, you are getting it from a UK data center. They, like all the giants, even the Microsofts and the Googles, they replicate their content around the world in data centers, and you get it from your nearest provider. So we don't our packets do not transit the American internet service providers.
Okay.
So they can do what they want. Like the worry maybe is in the United Kingdom if they come up with some crazy rule which is even more restrictive. But like I said, there is benefits to having the rules in place, and there's also benefits to not have them.
See, Kevin, when I first saw this, I thought it was net neutrality, that they were trying to mop up and buy the internet. People have said, look, no matter what, it's one of the great human freedoms. It's like the air that we breathe, only digital, that we should... That's nothing to do with that. They're not trying to buy the internet, because they're essentially, they're the front door into the internet, and we're paying for it already, of course.
Yeah, and they do want... And in some cases, it's like I would use, my family, we would use 10 times the amount of bandwidth as our neighbours would. But until the end of the road, you're sharing, especially if you're on cable around here and Virgin Media and all that, that's a shared connection coming in from...
You're all coming from the same green box.
You are. So if you have somebody beside you who's really greedy, depending how much bandwidth is in the pipe generally, it does affect your neighbours.
Do your neighbours give off about you?
No, but
I wonder what it affect the prices of houses in your street. Oh, your man Curran lives here. You couldn't get on the internet. It's like a dial-up modem in 1979.
No, I'm in an ADSL, a different connection.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, in the I'd probably take 0.01% more than. But in other words,
worst internet street in Ireland.
If it came in better, really, I should be paying more than my neighbours. But my neighbours who maybe just do the odd email, watch an episode of BBC iPlayer or whatever once a week, they use a fraction of what I use. So in fairness, I should be charged more, but at the moment I'm not. I just have, I pay for my service. It's not capped, and so in some ways I'm all for, nearly pay-per-use to some degree.
Hey, a personal question: how much do you pay a month for internet?
Oh God, it's about 50. The top.
50.
Yeah.
Well, it's not 150. There's some people paying 150 for the TVs, for goodness sake. Yeah. AT&T are one of the big American sites, Kevin, and one of the big ISPs, the providers of the internet. They say we do not block websites, nor censor online content, nor throttle or degrade traffic, nor unfairly discriminate our treatment of internet. These principles were laid out in 2010 and fully supported by us, were clearly articulated on the website and all the rest. So, big meeting in Washington. The commissioners voted 3-2, as you say, to take away net neutrality.
Well,
in short, they say the internet will continue to work tomorrow just as it always has, says AT&T.
That's fine, but I think that would have pinch of salt as well. They were caught throttling Facebook a few years ago to move people up to a shared data plan. There's other cases of it again.
But so why would AT&T throttle Facebook?
Because they wanted to move people up to a shared data plan.
What is a shared data plan?
To an increased monthly plan, so that they would then get access to Facebook. That it wasn't feasible on the lower plan. So they were just trying to sell a higher data plan. Other companies have done that. In some ways, again, now they have to be explicit about it. The only real rule change in this one is they have to tell us if they are throttling certain apps, certain websites, and certain services.
There you go. Caller says some of this is happening already, though, Kevin. Some mobile phone companies offer a monthly allowance of data, but also say, we'll give you as much WhatsApp as you want, or another service. So that's not neutral exactly, is it? They could favour
yeah, that's where you can do it. But being a shared data plan exists all around the world, bandwidth limits. But that's different because, say you have a 5 gigabit monthly bandwidth limit. The service, the mobile providers are not specifically throttling a service. They're just capping you at 5, and you're paying more at the end. But they're not differentiating between the websites you visit and the services.
Doesn't worry you?
No, not at all.
Tale of two cities. No,
not at all. Like I said,
would you drop net neutrality here?
I think that I would just call for more transparency, and I do believe the market will find its place. In other words, that we would just move on to different services. If someone was doing something really bad and definitely throttling my Netflix, I would just move to a different service. Unfortunately, up until, right now they're digging the street, thank goodness, outside my house, so I have access to another provider. But up until now, I really only had one good one, because some of them are quite poor.
Right. Okay, yeah. Kevin, noted. I thought it was that they were trying to stop the public having easy access. It's nothing to do with that. It's about what you pay, your BT, your all of that kind of stuff. I get it. Professor Curran there. Professor Kevin Curran is the Professor of Cybersecurity at the Ulster University. So net neutrality went overnight. I think a lot of people are seeing it as another Trump-Obama kind of thing in terms of the politics of it. But you can make up your own mind on that. 16 minutes to 2. Still to come on this programme, Gareth Austin on his way